Stay tuned as I review 4 albums from bands I've never heard before.
Yodeling.
Hey, welcome back. This is Sean, and this is Some Dude in Texas. Hope everybody's had a good week. And this episode, I'm going to check out 4 albums from 4 bands that I've never heard of. Basically, in the past 10 or 15 years, I've been living under a rock when it comes to checking out new music, especially with thrash and death metal. So I listened to about 12 albums, or checked them out, should I say, about 12 albums, and 4 of them actually stood out. Now, 3 of them are from newer bands with newer releases, and then the 4th one is from a classic old school death metal band that I'm surprised that I never heard of. And so we're going to talk about those today. Now, the first band and album is Stabbing, Extirpated Mortal Process. Now, this was released last month in December, and this is a 4-piece band out of Texas. So I got to show them a little bit of love. And they're a brutal death metal band. Now, they were formed in 2021, so they're pretty young, pretty new band. They're either out of Austin or Houston. Couldn't get clarification on that. Now, their music, it's brutal. Lyric content is gore, horror, and violence. And, they definitely catch that brutal death metal vibe. The guitar tone is just heavy, low tune, just chugging. And they do, some pinch harmonics, which I like, when you're doing a junk, 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 and then they follow it up with some blast beats. And that drummer, man, he's got some skills, man. He is just pounding away on that snare drum on doing the blast beat. Sounds good. Now, you can't have, a brutal death metal album or band without those heavy, heavy, low vocals. The ones that everybody knows, kind of hard to understand. Well, they capture that here. The singer, man, she's got a killer, brutal death metal voice. Now, one thing I like, they really top off the whole vibe with the brutal, the brutality with their album cover. So check this bad boy out. This thing's got a lot going on. This was done by Daymorph. And to me, it kind of gives that suffocation vibe, off of Effigy of the Forgotten. Kind of reminds me of that a little bit, but a little bit more violent and gore. This thing is crazy, man. It's like the Decapitator 6000. It slices, it dices, it decapitates. It is insane. Now, if you like the brutal death metal, you'll definitely love this album and this band. They do it well. So if you get a chance, if you haven't already, check them out. I think you'll enjoy it. All right, so this next band just happened to pop up on my playlist. It was one of those, if you like this band, then try this one. So I did. It had a cool looking album cover, which we'll talk about, and I'll show that in just a second. And it's a band called Suborbital, and the album is called Planetary Disruption. And this band, couldn't find a whole lot of info about them, but they're from Germany. They're a 4-piece. Not sure how long they've been going at it, but they're on the War Anthem Records. And this album's got 11 tracks, and it's just kind of it's old school, technical, death metal, with a sci-fi theme to it. But the music, man, the guys are really, really talented. Kind of, sounds a little bit like death. Vocals definitely got a pestilence sound to it, with a little bit of death. And then the music is definitely got the death vibe, but also maybe, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but maybe just a little bit of Watchtower, that technical to it. But once again, it's got 11 tracks. One song that really kind of stood out to me was the title track, Planetary Disruption. I like that. And there's another song on there called Sands of, Uranus, however you want to say it. But it's pretty cool. One thing that kind of caught my attention on it is the main riff on it, believe it or not, was like a sped up version. Sound almost identical to, I can't believe I'm going to say I know this song, but Papa Roach's Getting Away with Murder. The riff sounds very close to that, but it's just a little bit faster. But great musicianship on this. You know, if you like that technical, old school death metal, I mean, you're definitely gonna love this album. Now let's check out this awesome album cover, man. This thing it's crazy. You got this big old intergalactic mutant spaceopus looking creature thing that's about to do some major nom 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 on this planet that's just, you know, hanging out there. But I love this album cover. Now the artist that did this was Ray Van Tilburg, and I like the colors. I like the way the logo, you know, it's got that bright neon green, and it just pops, and just that whole, you know, sci-fi, you know, scary creature vibe going on. So I dig it, man. I dig the album. You know, it's like I said, it's a technical death metal. You know, it's got the pauses that kind of catch you off guard. Great guitar tone, a great mix. I mean, everything just sounds good. Great vocals. You know, if you like that style, that kind of old school death, maybe like I said, you know, Pestilence for sure, and then that touch of Watchtower, man, you ought to check this out. I think you'll enjoy it. Hey, this next album was released back in October of 2022. It's from the band Molder. It's an Engrossed in Decay. Now, Molder is a three-piece band out of Illinois. They started back in 2017. Now, this is their second full-length album, so I kind of started ass backwards with this band. They do have one other full-length album, and then they have multiple demos. And I haven't had a chance to check them out, but I definitely will. Now, this is a band that just kind of popped up again on my playlist. And the album cover caught my attention, so I said, man, I'm going to check this out. And man, am I glad I did. Man, this is a fun album to listen to, man. It is old school death metal, but it's definitely got hints of thrash metal in it as well. If you're a thrash metal fan and you're not a big fan of death metal, you always kind of be like, you know, I really don't like it. But you kind of think about listening to it, this might be the band that can kind of, you know, ease you into the genre. Just once again, just good, you know, old school death metal style. It kind of sounds, you know, a little bit like Autopsy. Now the voice, you know, he's definitely Death, Obituary, and also reminds me. I don't know if you ever heard of the band Vengeance or Vengeance Rising, the Christian thrash death metal band out of the late 80s and 90s. Where that singer Roger Martinez. This guy sounds at times sounds similar to him. Now, it's a mid-tempo album, no blast beats. Like I said, just kind of old school death metal, but with that hint of thrash on there as well. So let's go ahead and let's check out this album cover. It's got a lot going on as well. It is pretty cool, man. It kind of reminds me of the movie Creepshow. I'm not sure if y'all seen that, but the part where the meteor, you know, crashes down in this guy's farm, and the farmer goes out there, who's happened to be played by Stephen King, and he's messing with this meteor, and he touches it, and he gets some stuff on him, and he rubs it on his shirt. He's like, "Ew, meteor shit," you know. Well, that stuff ends up like growing all over him, all this green stuff, and it kind of eats him alive and kills him, and that's what this album cover reminds me of. It's kind of fun, actually. It's a cool album. Goes good with the music as well. Man, I really dig this album. Like I said, it's fun to listen to. Got that old school sound to it, and man, I'm looking forward to going back in their catalog and listening to the first album and checking out those demos as well. If you like that old school, you know, death, Autopsy, Obituary kind of top. You know, it even has a little touch of maybe a little bit of Malevolent Creation as well. You know, if that's stuff that you like, man, you got to check out Molder, Engrossed in Decay, man. I think you'll dig it. Right now, this last album, I'm sure it's considered a classic, and y'all probably think I'm nuts that I've never heard of it. But hey, man, things, you know, changed. Times are different. Back in the day, this stuff was, you know, it was underground. It's harder to come across. Nowadays, you can just point and click, and boom, there it is. Hey, better late than never, right? So the band I'm talking about is from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's Mortaskull. And the album is their first one, Dying Remains. Now, this is just straight up old school death metal. You know, I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, man, where's this band been all of my life, right? I thought maybe it was a newer band just able to nail that classic sound. But as I researched, I said, well, no, these guys have been around since, 1990. Everything about this album is awesome. Guitar tone, drum mix, vocals. It's just, what else can you say? It is classic old school death metal. And I can't wait to dive into the catalog and listen to the rest of their albums. I've already got this one on order, found it on vinyl, should have it within about 4 or 5 days. Man, I can't wait to pop it on the turntable and jam out to it. Now let's talk about the album cover. Once again, classic old school death metal. Fits this sound perfect. It's gritty, it's raw. It's got the guy hanging from the chains. His feet's dangling there, starting to rot off and kind of hanging out above the flesh soup a little too long. Like I said, it's just gritty and raw. And once again, man, I am glad that I finally came across this band. I really enjoyed this album. If you're like me, been living under a rock and haven't heard of this band, Mortal Skull, be sure to go check them out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. All right, now that wraps up this episode, and I appreciate y'all watching. And be sure to hit the subscribe and like button. And hey, do me a favor, leave some comments. If there's some bands that that I'll enjoy, or you want to recommend, a certain album, man, leave me a comment. Help me out. I'd really appreciate it. And once again, thanks for watching. Until next time, y'all take care.